I became dangerously addicted to TikTok.
I would go to the bathroom, I would watch TikTok. Before bed, I'd spend an hour watching TikTok.
Everything is like information that I do not need.
Pulled an all-nighter last night and you might be like, oh, what was it for? Like, were you getting a bunch of shit done? I was literally glued to my phone. Like, it was like my eyes were just doing this.
I deleted TikTok, and I think a lot of people are kind of waking up to the fact that this app is way too addicting and actually is damaging to your attention span and even your memory. So the title is kind of a joke. I know it says, do you have ADHD or are you just using TikTok? But seriously, it can give you ADHD-like symptoms. I just anecdotally was feeling that. I was feeling like I could not pay attention, especially to difficult tasks. And I deleted TikTok about a week ago. I've been sleeping so much more, like getting much better sleep, so I feel more well rested. I feel like I can focus better, and I honestly don't really miss it. Now, I do still have TikTok, like an account, and I'll probably post on there a bit. I don't have the app on my phone, and if I have to upload something, I'll just delete it right after. And I am going to show TikToks in this podcast episode, but I pretty much just use it on my computer to research, and it's really not that addicting when you're on your computer. It's mostly when you're on your phone, it becomes very mindless. Let's start with my experience with TikTok and why I decided to delete it. There really was a few reasons. One was it was starting to affect my sleep. I would always stay on it an extra 30 minutes, maybe an hour at night, where I was kind of tired, but it just kept me up. I tried to just read before bed. I kept a book by my bed, but I was going on TikTok throughout the evening, but I would dread like having to not go on it anymore and read. So I kind of thought it was just easier to altogether just stop going on the app. The second thing is I did notice that while I was editing, I was having a harder time paying attention. And honestly, I was just not enjoying it as much as I once did.
My brain does not have the capacity to read a textbook or watch Khan Academy videos even. It breaks my heart, and it also means that I will be at the same level of intelligence that I am now for the rest of my life.
TikTok is such a cheap dopamine hit. It made me not want to do other stuff. It made, other things in comparison feel extra boring. When you don't have TikTok, they feel accomplishing and kind of fun, and you get into that flow. So I wanted to see if that would go away. Was I bored of the video? Like, was it the topic? Was it that I just am burnt out on editing? Or is it because I'm going on TikTok too much? Another thing is I felt like time went by way too fast on TikTok, and it kind of freaked me out. Like, you could just scroll away a whole day. Now, I didn't really do that, but I did have some travel days where I was on a plane and I probably scrolled for hours, and it went by quick. And it's just kind of scary to me how fast time goes by when you're scrolling. I don't want to live my life that way. I don't want to look back and be like, I spent so much of it looking at my phone and looking at a screen. I would even be in a beautiful location on a trip, like when I was in England, even by the pool, and I kind of just wanted to scroll on TikTok. And I had to be like, stop, like bring a book to the pool, like what? But it's harder to focus on reading when you're so used to TikTok. This is just crazy. I want to be here and taking in the moment and really enjoying it, not be here feeling like the itch to get on TikTok, And really the other thing is I feel like I was now constantly wanting to context switch while I was working. So instead of focusing on editing for like 25 minutes, it wouldn't even necessarily be that I'd want to go on TikTok. I would just want something to interrupt me. Like, I would get the urge to check an email or just to do some random other task. I felt like because I was so used to the novelty of scrolling and kind of training my brain to constantly be seeking dopamine, I guess. I had a harder time sitting with a long, boring task, and I wanted to just do something else, like every 2 minutes, which just isn't really gonna lead you to a successful life, I think.
What you're doing is that you're training your brain to not stick with something and just move to new stimulus, to new stimulus, to new stimulus. When you get to real life and you have to read a book, you have to read an email, it's really fucking hard because you haven't trained your brain to do that. It's like going to the gym, and then instead of like doing the full bicep curl rep, you just kind of like go like this. It's like little tiny things, and then you wonder why you're not getting stronger and your biceps not getting bigger.
I couldn't even brush my teeth without like grabbing my phone to look at it for like 2 minutes. I would be like at a stoplight in the car is stopped, right? So I'm not actually driving. And I'd open up TikTok and scroll a video and then put it away when I had to drive. But like, that's really like crazy. My friend Lauren would invite me to come watch a show or something, and I'd be like, but scrolling TikTok sounds more fun. There were a couple times that I just did that instead. I think that's kind of sad. Or even going out to see a movie because like I just didn't want to focus. Have been times where I've been with my sister and both of us are scrolling on our phone. And I'm like, we're not even connecting or conversing. Like, this is kind of terrible. And I know I'm not the only one. I'm not alone in this. So the thing about TikTok is the negative effects of it continue after you're done scrolling. And this is something that I find to be very different than watching YouTube videos or even scrolling on Instagram. When you're done watching a YouTube video, it's pretty easy to put it away and get back to whatever you're doing. And I don't really feel that different. Now with TikTok, I feel like it actually changes the way that your brain works. And I don't just feel like that. There's actually some research on it. So you know that feeling when you walk into a room and you're like, wait, what did I come in here for? I feel like I was having that more and more as I got more addicted to TikTok. But it wasn't just walking into a room. It was actually rarely that. It was more so being on my computer and I'd be going to send an email and then I'd remembering something else I should do and immediately start to do that. And then I'd be like, wait, what was the email that I was even gonna send? I was doing that more and more. I had a harder time just sitting with finishing that one task, that writing the email and doing that first. I wanted the novelty and the dopamine hit of starting another task, because that is kind of how TikTok trains your brain. Actually, it drove me crazy. Actually, I was like, what? Why can't I had to set timers, do not disturb, everything. Really confusing to work that way and sort of stressful actually. And it's not just me. Cornell actually did a study about how using TikTok can affect your brain. Basically, they did find that indeed TikTok does affect your memory and kind of your concentration more than going on something like YouTube or Twitter. So they ran this experiment where they would basically flash cards. Some of the words were real words like camera, chair, microphone, but some of them were fake, like blah, Leela, stuff like that. And they had to press a button when it was a fake word versus a real word. So that was their first test. Second test was being assigned a specific key, like the letter Q, based on the word. So if I saw chair, I had to press Q. If I saw light, I had to press M. It takes a little more concentration, right? Because you have to remember which key to press. And so what they did in this experiment was they had people do this for about 10 minutes or so. They would press buttons for the words, then they would interrupt them for 10 minutes. One group would rest, one would watch YouTube, one went on Twitter, and one went on TikTok. And then they had them repeat the same concentration tasks that they did before the interruption. And what they found was it was pretty easy for all of the groups to know if it was a fake word or not. But the group who watched TikTok had a very hard time with the second task. I think because you have to concentrate a lot more, assigning the key to the word. So the slightly more difficult task, you can see in this graph, if they just rested or went on Twitter, they actually did better, which makes sense because, well, they were doing it the second time, so they kind of should do better. If they went on YouTube, they did about the same. Kind of makes sense. They were a little bit distracted, so it's kind of like a reset. But if they went on TikTok, they did much worse. It clearly affects concentration. If you're just like spamming your brain with all this random content and scrolling, for whatever reason, it does affect your brain even after you're done doing it. There's been some other research as well. I saw this article from The Sun, which I don't really know how credible that newspaper is, but they did interview a psychiatrist at King's College in London. And he said, we haven't got the studies yet, but many of the changes are those that are seen by people with Alzheimer's disease. They did some kind of study, and he said the study found there was reduced, I don't know how to say this word, myelination in areas related to attention, cognitive development, and intelligence. The bit of the brain that wants a reward quickly and immediate gratification gets more stimulated by the stronger use of screens like social media and TikTok, and their ability to sustain concentration is reduced. No shit. I think anyone who uses TikTok knows this. I always hear people say like, I have a hard time watching movies now.
Completely lost my attention span. I could not watch a movie. Like if the plot was not like extremely fast, I would lose attention and literally go back on TikTok.
The funny thing is, when I was growing up, you know, they said TV was rotting our brain. And now people are like, oh, watching a TV show, that's kind of good for my brain. Reading is probably the best thing that we can all do, learning. But I think watching like a TV show here and there is fine. The thing about TikTok is it's kind of the first time we've had the option of boredom. We don't have to be bored if we don't want to. The algorithm of it is just so good. The way that is just so spot on, and you don't even have to click. You don't even have to do the work of scrolling to find a video you're interested in. The thing with YouTube and even Instagram is I don't have an issue with putting it away, like setting a timer and just like turning it off when I'm done. I'm like, okay, that was fine. Now I'm done doing that. But with TikTok, I would find myself being like, just one more video, like a freaking addict. And I know I'm not alone on this. A Vox article even found people are already spending a staggering amount of time on TikTok, 108 minutes a day average, which is more than double the time spent on Instagram. It's not just me, okay? Like everyone who's on it is addicted. And part of it also is, like this Reddit comment points out, the information gap that TikTok leaves you with. This person says, short videos leave a gap, a hunger for more. You didn't get enough info. And how the algorithm works, most of the time it's a high percent bad to mediocre and a few in line with your content. Basically, it'll kind of introduce you to a concept, give you a little bit of information, and then switch to the next thing. So you're never really completing the cycle of learning about something. With a YouTube video, I feel like you can go deeper on a topic and really learn about it. So when you shut it off, you're just like satisfied. Like, okay, that was interesting. Like I learned that. But with a TikTok video, I'm like, tell me more. You keep scrolling because you know it's gonna bring you back to whatever that part of the algorithm is. And you might wanna see more content with it. It's really like training you to just keep watching instead of being satisfied with the one video. Like you're never satisfied just watching one TikTok. Everyone goes on there. It's like opening a bag of chips. Like you're gonna eat more of them. And like, you know, YouTube's more of eating a sandwich. Like you're satiated. Okay, but before we get into it, I wanted to quickly thank one of the sponsors of the podcast, Cure Hydration. If you guys aren't familiar with Cure Hydration, it's an electrolyte drink mix. And what I really like about it is they don't have any added sugar or artificial sweeteners. So you're not going to get that fake sugar taste, and they use clean ingredients. They use things like pink Himalayan salt and coconut water powder. I feel like it's just a cleaner way to hydrate. And when it comes to staying hydrated, it really is more than just drinking water. I mean, I've found when I go to play tennis, and if it's like a hot day, I'm playing in the middle of the day, I will be so fatigued after, even if I was just drinking normal water the whole time, because I need those electrolytes. If you are not replenishing your electrolytes too, like you'll kind of get that fatigue, that brain fog. You know, I feel like we've all felt it. In the summer when I'm in Palm Springs, like you don't even have to be working out. Like I need to be drinking this just to stay like normal. So with the Cure electrolyte drink mix, there's only 25 calories in each packet. So very low calorie, again, because there isn't any added sugar. And it's doctor approved and safe for the whole family, so adults and kids can use Cure. So they have a bunch of different flavors. They got like watermelon, lemonade I feel like is a classic. There's strawberry, kiwi, berry, pomegranate, really something for everyone. They found that 75% of Americans don't drink enough water or have enough electrolytes, and this is when you get those symptoms like fatigue, headaches, dry skin. I notice for myself, my lips get really dry. When I stay hydrated, my lips are just like naturally a little more plump, so it's like more motivation I've had to actually drink water. They actually followed a formula that was developed by the World Health Organization to be as effective as an actual IV drip. So they're not messing around here. We're really getting rehydrated. And for step-by-step listeners, Cure is offering 20% off your first order. You can get that by going to curehydration.com/Shelby and entering the promo code Shelby. Again, it's curehydration.com/Shelby. I'll put the link in the show notes as well if you want to just click on the link. And let's get back into the podcast. I also wanted to thank Quince for sponsoring this episode. If you guys aren't familiar with Quince, you haven't been listening to all the episodes because they've sponsored other ones, but they are a website where you can get stuff for your home, you can get clothing at really great prices, and they have great quality stuff. You can get washable silk, linen, cashmere, organic cotton at much better prices than most other places. As summer's kind of coming to an end, I'm looking at my wardrobe to see what are going to be my staple pieces for fall, and for anything that's kind of missing, I'm going to Quince. You can get a 100% cotton cotton sweaters starting at $40. And I love all the sweaters I have from them. This sweater I'm wearing right now is from Quince. It's a cashmere sweater. I love that, I bought it last year, but it still looks great to wear this year. It's not too trendy, so the stuff you're buying isn't going to go out of style in 2 months. One thing I'm eyeing is this 100% organic cotton sweater. Really cute in the brown color. They have more stuff than just clothing, actually. They've got candles, they've got home products. I have some sheets from them, and it's all at really good prices for just good quality stuff. If you want to elevate your fall wardrobe essentials, go to quince.com/Shelby to get free shipping and 365-day returns. That's quince.com/Shelby for free shipping and 365-day returns. That's crazy. Like, you can return something 3 months later if you don't like it. Like, who lets you do that anymore? It's crazy. Quince.com/Shelby. Okay, let's get back into talking about TikTok. Another thing with TikTok is you don't really remember a lot of what you were watching when you're done watching it, because you're constantly scrolling and watching so many different things. Your brain just can't keep up. You can't remember all that. You might remember a couple interesting or funny TikToks, but I think I prefer to just learn about something and go a bit deeper on the topic than to feel like I have amnesia and I don't remember anything I just saw. I also found that some of the TikTok videos that I found the most interesting were actually just cut downs of YouTube videos. Like this, for example, I was like, wait, private equity, what? Why don't I just go watch the actual YouTube video? It's going to be a lot more satiating. Like I said, it's going to go deeper on the topic and I'm going to learn a lot more than if I'm just kind of scrolling by and probably just not even going to remember that much about it. This is an interesting topic and it kind of cheapens the content to put it on TikTok. Like the content creator is not going to make as much money either. So another issue with TikTok is it can cause people to kind of withdraw socially. I feel like this is probably even worse for kids growing up with it. But even for myself, there were times I'd be at a dinner, and because I kind of got into this habit of loving that last hour in bed where I can just scroll for a little bit, it's relaxing. I know a lot of people do it. But I would be at a social event of some kind and I'd be like, oh, but I need to make sure I leave by this time so I have enough time to scroll. That's so bad. I mean, even just quitting for a week, I don't think like that. I'm like, oh, I'll just read for 10 minutes and then I'll fall asleep probably. I fall asleep so much faster now that I don't have TikTok, or really I just don't even go on my phone before bed. I know I can't be the only one.
I feel like people our age are choosing the easy thing, which is to, on a Wednesday night, stay in and watch Netflix and scroll on TikTok instead of being forced to go into the main room, the common room, and actually make friends, because that is a way more nerve-wracking, risky thing to do.
I mean, there were times where a dinner was just too long and I just was tired and wanted to go to sleep, but it would also weirdly stress me out that I wasn't gonna get my scroll time. I wanted to scroll. Even that psychiatrist from King's College London, he said if you're spending a lot of time on your phone, you're not doing other things. You're not socializing with your friends. You're not taking part in conversations. You become more and more distant. And I notice this, you'll notice it just walking around, people scrolling all the time, just out and about. People aren't as open to random chit chat because we're all kind of engrossed on our phones. And this isn't just a TikTok thing. And some people, hey, there are times where I'm sending emails and I'm replying to people, but there are other times where I'm just bored and I'm scrolling. And yeah, I'm probably missing out on some basic little interaction with people around me, but it's not that meaningful anyway. But I don't know. It's a little bit sad that everyone's just so on their phones now. One surprising thing is I noticed comments about people saying they felt less lonely because of TikTok. It's kind of enabling you to not seek out connection as much. Loneliness is a tricky thing because while it's deeply uncomfortable, very painful, kind of terrible feeling, it actually is a tool and it will kind of force you to seek out connection. It can be good in that way that if it gets you to take some action. But if the action it gets you to take is just scrolling on TikTok, then it's not really that great. In this sense, I think people are using TikTok to kind of just numb the pain of loneliness or numb the pain of boredom or whatever it is. These comments, I mean, sometimes I feel like deleting social media, but I work from home, then I feel like I have no social life. And the thing is, TikTok isn't a social life. You don't have a social life if you have TikTok. It just is numbing the boredom of it. For people like myself who have a small circle / alone 24/7, TikTok is a must for feeling connected to people. And yeah, this is just showing that like TikTok does make people feel this sense of connection even when they're not with people. And I kind of know what they mean because it just so gets what you want, what you find interesting. It almost gives you that rewarding feeling of talking to someone or someone understanding you because the algorithm understands what you're thinking. But let's be clear, it's not the same. And some people said, I did delete TikTok and I felt horrible. Yeah, I did. I felt 100 times worse.
You can always just disintegrate me with water. Yeah.
I think some of it is just using it to numb the boredom of everyday life when sometimes it's actually good to be bored. Sometimes it's okay to be bored. I had this realization that if TikTok was around when I was 14 and first starting YouTube, I might have never started YouTube. Because back then I started it because I was bored. There was like nothing else to do. I'd go home from gymnastics practice in the summer. I didn't live walking distance to any of my friends, couldn't drive yet. Me and my sister were so bored that, we watch all these YouTube videos, but it does get boring after a while. And so we just made our own. And to think that if TikTok had been around then, I wouldn't have had to been bored. I might have just never started. I might have just scrolled. That's sad. That makes me think, what is it that I'm not letting myself get bored enough to start because I'm busy scrolling on this stupid app? Like there could be some amazing idea that I could have. Like who knows? Perhaps it's keeping me from doing something more important. I've also noticed if you can't ever be bored, it's also harder to truly relax. And this Reddit user found that deleting TikTok help them feel less anxious. Being constantly entertained, while it feels like a good thing, I don't think it's actually a good thing. I think that there is some weird positive in being bored or being lonely or having to sit with these emotions because they get you to take action on that thing that's gonna get you out of that. Like if you're feeling lonely, if you have a small circle, you could scroll on TikTok to kind of numb the feeling, or you could join a club, get a hobby. And I think in the long run, it's better to not be like numbing those emotions and to actually like take action. I think it is about balance though, because on the one hand, like it is a good news source. Like it shows you stuff that you are not gonna see on TV or like in the mainstream news. It can give you great recipe ideas. It's taught me some interesting things for sure, but I just don't want to be going on it every day. I really don't miss it right now. I'm taking a break. Who knows if I'll go back. Another thing I didn't love about TikTok is I do feel like it was promoting overconsumption. Just the amount of videos you see, like the fashion content, it would be like, oh, this random animal print is in trend now. And then so quickly, like the next month, like bows in your hair, just in a way that like you don't see on YouTube. There's also a niche of TikTok, which is just decorating your water bottle. Like there are these things that you get it with short form content in the overconsumption realm that you just don't get on YouTube. Organizing content, which is really just another version of overconsumption. Like some of these, I'm like, okay, you really don't need that much stuff.
Overconsumption has been rebranded as cute and organized in American society, and it is causing you so much unnecessary financial stress. The total cost of the items in this fridge organization video is well over $250, and that doesn't even account for all of the expensive single packaged items.
This is entertaining as short form content because it's quick cuts, it's like got the fun little ASMR sounds and whatever, but it's not really that interesting as a full YouTube video because like you're just not gonna watch someone organize like that for like 10 minutes. I think that TikTok influences people to buy more stuff that they do not need. Not just TikTok shop, but just because the sheer amount of different outfits and trends and random products that people have that they're telling you that you need, that you're seeing. It's more than you see on YouTube. It's just another level. And I feel like for me, I didn't really fall into the overconsumption. Like I didn't actually buy that much stuff. I bought like a couple little like phone tripods from TikTok shop, but that's it. I don't like having a bunch of crap, honestly. So I don't buy a lot of stupid things like that, but I don't really like the thought of other people wasting their money on things or thinking they need something when they really don't. It's probably gonna end up in a landfill in a year and your money would be better off invested or something boring like that. And really the last like negative was As a creator, I feel like TikTok kind of cheapens your content and short form content in general. Short form content, while it takes a lot less time than actually making long form content, it still can be time consuming if you're doing like a highly edited piece and you don't really get paid much from it. You don't get paid anything if it's less than a minute, but even if it is over a minute, first of all, I feel like they don't show as many of those videos in the algorithm because they don't want to pay you on TikTok or something. But even then, you still don't get that much for it. It's like 50 cents per 1,000 views. They say it's $1 RPM, but like half of those views are not going to count. And so it really is more like 50 cents. Anything like, say I'm gonna make a video about how much my Airbnb makes. If I make a full length YouTube video about it that goes deeper into the topic and I'm able to like stretch my cinematic, creative editing and everything abilities and feel more like fulfilled after making it, and I'm gonna make more money from it because you have to watch a couple ads throughout it, it's a longer video, or I can condense that same thing down and just tell you real quick in a TikTok how much I made from it. Because it's so short, both videos get 1 million views. One of them will probably make from what, TikTok, like $500, where the YouTube video could make $5,000 to $10,000 on ad revenue, depending on the RPM. So why am I cheapening my concepts into TikToks when I can make them, first of all, better content, like go deeper, give way more information and context for the people that want it, and I'm gonna make more money? Why would I do TikTok? I also just never really felt like that proud of making short form content. Now, it's the one positive is you get to use copyrighted music, and that is fun because like you can't really do that on YouTube. I just don't find it like that fun editing a TikTok. Like I'm never done shooting short form content and editing and going like, wow, this shot is so cool, the way that I would with an actual camera. Obviously, I'm not using as good of equipment. I'm like making worse content actually when it comes to production value. So I'm not really as proud of it or feeling as fulfilled. So not only does it make less when it comes to ad revenue, different story for brand deals, I will say. It also just isn't really as fulfilling. Like I feel like it's worse production value. It's not something that I want to like put in a portfolio or put on a big screen. Like I'm not like, oh wow, this TikTok I made. I'm like, yeah, it's whatever. You know, I'm not like, I want to feel more proud of my work than that, you know? So the positives of TikTok, I will say, because I still have it on my computer, I still like using it for researching for these types of videos. It does make it easy for people to spread information and to share their stories without having to make a full YouTube setup, because there's like a little more barrier of entry to YouTube. And so I like it for that kind of thing. I like it a little bit for news because it's again going to show stuff that the mainstream media doesn't. Also great for travel recommendations, like where to stay, and for restaurants. I still really like it for that, but I guess I could use Instagram for that as well. I definitely got some good recommendations from TikTok. Same with recipes. I don't think it's all bad. I just don't think it's very healthy to be training my brain in this way to go on it like that. And I already feel like I am having a slightly easier time focusing. And I don't think I was like withdrawing a ton socially before. Like I'm pretty social, but I've been making more of an effort. A little bit, I would say. So those are really the reasons that I decided to delete TikTok. I haven't had it, I think it's like 8 days now. 8 days sober from TikTok is what I've joked to people, but I don't find myself like wanting to download it again. Like I really just don't even care now. And I went on it on my laptop to research for this video, find some clips, but it didn't make me go like, oh, I want to download it. Like actually I'm enjoying that my sleep is better. Even my Oura Ring, like my sleep score is better. And you can see the average time I'm going to sleep even, I think is like earlier. I'm curious, what are your guys' thoughts on TikTok? Do you think there's not really a problem with it? I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll be back to going on it in a week, who knows? But I'm kind of enjoying taking this break and not being on it. Have you ever taken a break? What do you guys think? Comment down below because I'd be curious to know. That's gonna be it for this episode, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.